Good morning, friends. How's everyone doing today? Well, we're going to head back to the raised bed garden in a second to do some interplanting. We're going to be doing lilies along with Saponaria and Nigella. But before we head back there, I wanted to give you a look at how my bearded iris are looking planted with all these alliums. So this one is called His Royal Highness. This is probably my favorite purple. It's a mid-range purple, and it really looks like a beautiful purple Persian carpet. I love how it pairs nicely with these softer purples in the background. This one is called Ozark Rebounder, and it's this really deep, Gracie wants to come out, it's this really deep eggplant purple iris, but it still has loads of other colors. As you approach the beards, I guess the beards are kind of a purple and orange color. Once again, I love the Ozark Rebounder with the lighter purple and then with His Royal Highness in the background there. This one is Concertina, and if you like peach and purple together, then you've got to get your hands on this one. It's just absolutely exquisite. And I can pull back on the driveway garden here for you so you can see how this all works together. And lots more still are going to bloom. I think the only other variety that I have in this area is Persian carpet, and that is a purple with more pink in it, so it matches the alliums a little bit better. Now I'll tell you what, all of these late tulips over here looked good for only about 3 days. I think from now on I really am going to stick with just the early and mid tulips. I just lose these late tulips all the time. There's a really great podcast episode that features one of the owners of Shriner's Iris, a big bearded iris seller, and it was on the Flower podcast, so I'll link that in the description section for you if you want to check it out. I just remember her telling these really wonderful family stories and lots of great tips, of course, on growing bearded iris. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen to my bearded iris before our next garden tour, because every day this week we have a thunderstorm in the forecast, and some of these thunderstorms we've been having lately have been really violent. So hopefully they'll stick around for at least a week more, but you never know when it comes to nature, do you? Totally Tangerine gems are looking so fabulous. I don't know how it took me this long to put gems in my garden, but I think I could have just a garden full of gems and alliums and be a very, very happy lady. And speaking of orange, all the lilies that we're going to be planting today are orange, or at least have some orange in them. We're going to be doing Forever Susan, Royal Sunset, which we did last year, and Kavari. I think it's Kavari. I planted some of those in the driveway garden, and then I want to do some for cutting also. Last year I interplanted lilies and Saponaria, and that experiment was so successful that I'm going to repeat it and just add on to it a little bit. And I did make a video when I planted those flowers and when I harvested them for the flower stand, so I'll try to find both of those videos and link them in the description section below. So I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to plant the lilies, and then in between them, right here, I'm going to come in with Saponaria, and I'm going to add in Nigella seed also, just to see how that works. So last year when I did this, I planted them on the same day. I planted the lilies and direct seeded the Saponaria on the same day, and they basically bloomed at the same exact time. Since they're both single cuts, I was able to cut basically the entire bed clean and then have a brand new planting area ready to go. So for me, this was kind of the perfect interplanting experiment. A single cut bulb and a quick single cut filler flower that I can grow from seed. And can you guys see Grace in the background? It has been so incredibly hot and humid this week. I'm just going to take some larger pieces of mulch so that I know exactly where my lily rows are, so I don't lose track of them. So I'm going to do this exactly how I did it last year. Lilies go down 6 inches deep. I also think Saponaria is really good for this, and hopefully Nigella, because the lower part of their stem is pretty bare, and then all the action happens up on top. So I don't have a lot of plant foliage from the lily crowding out a lot of plant foliage from an annual I'm growing from seed. Instead, I have something that's growing straight up, and then also the flower that I'm seeding is growing on a really small stem straight up before it finally sprays out at the very end, or with Nigella puts up that flower, and then it will branch out as well. But I'll just cut the entire stem of Nigella like it's a single cut. I have a lot of competition here in my area, but not a lot of people sell lilies. Most people are selling sunflowers, zinnias, ageratum, celosia. So what I've done over the years is basically just steer away from all those things, focus on these higher end flowers like lilies, ranunculus, peonies, tulips, and dahlias. So in between those rows of lilies, and the lilies are planted, I would say, about 6 to 8 inches apart, probably closer to 8, just looking at these random mulch bits that I have sticking out of the ground. I'm just going to make a little trough here. So we'll have 4 rows of lilies, 3 rows of Nigella and Saponaria. So instead of going Saponaria, Nigella, Saponaria, what I'm going to do is mix up the same amount of seed in my hand and then just sow them together, because I want a really informal look. We'll see how that works out. I have a feeling we might end up with more Saponaria than Nigella. I'm going to sow this pretty heavily. Last year I sowed it very heavily. I didn't thin it. In retrospect, I probably should have. I mean, the stems were still fine, but some of them were so close together that I feel like the stems could have and probably should have been stronger than what they were. You guys, I'm already sweating like crazy. I'm so sorry. It's probably disgusting. Okay, so there we have that. Now just come back through, cover that up with just a little bit of soil. Both of those barely need cover, about 1/8 of an inch. Oh, now we get a cloud. I see how it is. Normally I would water this in, but we're expecting a storm today, so I'll just let nature take care of that for me. I'm gonna do the same exact thing in this bed, and I'm really excited to see if the Nigella does well, interplanted with the lilies as well, and interplanted with the Saponaria. What I'm going to do on these exterior beds, which I don't think you can see in the camera, I've already put the same amount of lilies in those beds, but instead of direct seeding something in between the rows, I'm going to wait a couple weeks and plant a transplant in between those lilies, and I'll go ahead and film that also so we can kind of compare that too. Well, friends, it is just so hot and I am so sweaty that I think I really better get inside and come back out tonight and finish my work then. But for now, I want to wish you a wonderful day out there in your gardens, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.